So now we've moved on into red stags. Only one question here, but Ohinirata hunting. Hey mate, I'm looking at trying for a nice South Island red stag. I would like open tops with bush gullies. Where would you recommend to start looking? Alright, he's actually given me his email address. I tell you what, I'll send you a private email with some specifics, but broadly, I'll just leave you with a few things to think about. Is it a balloted area? If it's balloted, then obviously you've got to follow the ballot system, and so have a look online how you apply. I think some of those may have already closed though for Otago and Haast. Check that out. Maybe they're open until February. But if it's not balloted, then I would look at, okay, has there been wild animal recovery in the area? Has there been 1080 dropped? Have they been doing any heli hunting? You know, what sort of pressure has that area been getting from commercial operators? And if you can find out how much pressure an area's been getting from recreational hunters, then I'd also want to know that too. If you know people that have hunted some of the areas you're thinking, you could ask them, you know, how frequently visited are those hut books? I mean, I always try to look at hut books whenever I'm in an area. Sometimes I'll leave my messages there, other times I'm just looking at it to see what other people are writing. But try to glean as much info on, are you going into an area that's got less pressure? I always love the feeling of going into areas that don't get the pressure, or hunting an area that people just look at and go, oh, too hard, or I don't think it's going to be that productive, and you just get this feeling that you're the only one there, which is a great feeling. Something else to think about, which kind of rules out 1080 and Waro, is the area a recreational hunting area, an RHA? I can't remember exactly how many, but I thought there's something like 13 RHAs in New Zealand. An RHA, what that does is it basically prevents the Department of Conservation from carrying out wild animal recovery operations, because that's a commercial operation in an area that's deemed recreational hunting area only. Well, this is at least from my memory at uni. I might be speaking out of school here, so I might have to double check this after I put this film together. But if it's an RHA, then you shouldn't have 1080 in there that's been used unless there is deer repellent. At the risk of getting a little personal, just wondering how you juggle work, kids, family with hunting. I absolutely love it and try to get out as much as I can, but I've got a couple of kids, 3-year-old twins, double banger, and very demanding jobs, so sometimes I find it difficult to get out as much as I'd like. Mind you, my missus is a champ and is very supportive, so I consider myself very lucky. Like you, I'm passionate about my health and fitness. I'd be interested to hear a little more about your training regime and how it differs with the on and off hunting season, and how you get yourself in best shape as possible for your hunting style. Alright, so the first question, balance. That's probably the biggest and hardest factor or concept for me to grasp in my life, has been balance. Everything has been a juggling act in my life. I feel like balance is just constantly there and I'm not quite able to grab it. So juggling and getting the right balance is, I don't know, do we ever get that? It's hard. I guess the ways I try to make it work though, and I can be a selfish person. As a hunter, it's a selfish endeavour, right? So you're wanting to take the time away from your family to go and do something that's quite self-indulgent, but that's what we want to do, right? And so if you can get runs on the board by, for me, I'm as active as I can be in the kids' lives on the weekends, during school, pickups and drop-offs, although we've got a helper with Elisa's mum at the moment, that makes life a bit easier. But I just try to do kids' activities during the week, nippers, ballet, swimming, kids' birthday parties. I try to do all of that stuff so that I get some runs on the board for being able to go away for a trip. But look, in all honesty, I get probably one backpack hunt where I'm away for a week a year, maybe two. This year was a total novelty where I managed to negotiate, and I really mean negotiate, 3 trips away. And I guess the way that I make it work is I try to pick it so that it coincides with either school holidays or weekends or long weekends. I guess you got to try and make it all. You got to try and balance it all and juggle it all. Speaking of family. Oh, sorry. Are you okay? Hello. Are you coming out to say hello to me?
No, I'm getting this.
Oh, you're coming out to get that. Okay.
This here.
Yeah.
Be mindful of the neighbours, it's getting late.
Yeah, I know, it's getting late. Talking about balance, I'm struggling to make things balance right now because my family's telling me it's late. So I try to do things at night time after the kids go down. I do my planning trips or I do my video. I'll put Toby out. I've got a dog as well now. That's my wife telling me I've got to put Toby out before I go to bed. So I do the editing at night time. That's actually, the editing, the filming, and editing aspect has been a whole nother dimension that's been hard to balance, because not only do I hunt, I fish, again, just little sort of windows where you might get 2 hours out in the kayak and try to make the most of it. So have the gear ready, packed the night before, so it's all done at night time, so I'm not doing that stuff during the day when the kids are either needing to go to school or come back or get food or whatever it is. Try to be ruthless with your time. I also arm wrestle, I train a lot, so you're trying to fit all this stuff in, it's hard, and I don't think I've got that right. I think it's just this ongoing challenge to balance. It feels like a balloon, you kind of push here and something pokes out there, and something always gives. But communicating and staying on the same page is key. Again, I can't honestly say I get that right, and if people have got tips on how to have a happy life, a happy balanced life, then please let me know, because I think that's probably been an endless pursuit without necessarily having it right for my entire life. And in fact, my parents have always said to me, you just cannot do something by halves. Everything's at full tilt, and it's hard to keep everything balanced when you're just so involved in a particular area, trying to scale it back. Yeah, look, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that, mate. I think it's probably one of the hardest things that I'm still trying to grapple with, even at a 35-year-old parent and husband. Alright, so the second part of your question was around health and fitness. So, okay, this is another point then. I do my training during lunchtime. I'm really lucky that my work provides a gym membership for us and for employees, and so I go during lunch. That's my time to train. There's no way I could train as much as I do, which is about 5 times a week, if I had to do it all in my own time at home, in between being a father, a husband, and having hobbies basically. So I'm lucky that I train during lunchtime. I hit the gym 45 minutes to an hour, and I try to keep it as hard and fast. I go in with a purpose. I do not have chats. I don't just go there to look around and check things out or listen to the music or watch the TV that comes on with music. I'm there for a reason and get it done. But also you can keep some of your gym workouts fairly short, sharp and fast. If you're doing high intensity interval training or training whereby you're wanting to get that heart rate up, you might keep it short to 20 minutes and you still get a hell of a sweat up and get that get your nervous system cranking and your metabolism up. So there's also high intensity repetition training, which is less intense than HIIT, but again, that short burst. Try to do bursts of boxing or running, which again, that's probably no more than 10-15 minutes. I don't do long runs. I'm not trying to be a marathon runner. I just want to have a short, hard and fast run, get the sweat up. So yeah, I think you can still do a lot of exercise and be in good shape, but you do have to find 40 minutes, half an hour, at least half an hour anyway. Find half an hour in the day and do a whole lot of Googling and see what type of training. I mean, it depends on what you want to train too and how you want to Is it for functional fitness? Is it how you want to look? Do you just want to be able to be hill fit and make hunts work, which is probably most likely? Then talk to Andre Alipati. I tell you what, Andre is a gun for fitness and translating strength to being able to utilise it on the hill. Sorry, I can hear my neighbours. Can you hear my neighbours next door? They're yelling their heads off. Anyway, alright, Jonathan Davies. Hi mate. Be great to be able to talk about mental toughness it takes to do some of the hunts that you have undertaken. Seems to me to be one of the most under-discussed subjects, yet probably one of the most important. Yeah, that's a really good one. I did touch on it in one of the training videos earlier in the year around mental toughness, and yeah, you're right, you do have to be you have to be able to cope with not only the physical endeavour of backpack hunting in some pretty remote terrain, and sometimes it might not even be that remote. Maybe it's just that you're in terrain that's extremely cold and it's raining and your spirits are down. Pushing through that is hard. I think when I started off as a hunter at the age of, like as a backpack hunter at the age of about 15 or 16 is when I started to do backpack hunts, either solo or with a close group of mates. We weren't mentally tough at all. In fact, we were fairly meek. You know, we didn't take risks. We tippy-toed our way into the backcountry, and I think as we got more experienced, we started to find our feet. We started to have more confidence. We would back ourselves. We would back the equipment, and I think that confidence just allows you to overcome, you know, the different barriers that you put in your mind, and I think we put them there really most of the time. I think one of the things that I try to not do when hunting, and it's really hard, is make excuses. It's really easy to make excuses. You can, you know, say, oh, I don't think it's worthwhile going over to that face, or I don't think I'm going to climb up to the top of that hill, or oh, I don't reckon it's going to be any good over the other side of that gully, or I reckon the wind's going to be, you know, you can just come up with all these excuses for why not to do things. And like, I've got this little thing in my head that just tells excuses that there's no place for them, and I try to make no excuses and come off the hill, because I get one chance a year, maybe two, and this year was so lucky. I got 3 chances this year, and I don't want to be on my one hunt in a year and come home feeling like I made up a few excuses. You know, I want to leave no stone unturned, and you got to be resilient and push through that, because it's really easy to talk yourself out of things. So for that, yeah, I think just having confidence and just reminding yourself that you're there for that one hunt in the year, and you got to make it count. And sometimes that means pushing through some personal challenges, and you know, there'll be times where you're going to be asking some big questions of yourself physically, which can get your morale down. But yeah, you just got to try and push through. I don't want to sound though, or come across that you shouldn't listen to concerns around your own safety. Don't be stupid and push yourself to the point of being in a risky predicament or in a dangerous situation. You want to always be safe. Safety is paramount. You've got to come home, you've got family to return to, and that's important. Don't lose sight of that. But at times, yeah, you have to push. You push hard. I think back to that hunt that I talked about earlier, that big hunt, 187 kilometres in a 2-week period, and we were walking into the middle of the night, and sometimes walking until 2 or 3 in the morning. We were mentally, physically fatigued. So I guess just don't make excuses and limit yourself. That's what I would say to that. So thanks, Jono. HWA Thompson. I've seen your training video, however have a more specific question. I am time poor for training during the week. Can you recommend a 30-minute workout I can do after to help condition for backpack hunting? Yes, I can. I think the Spartacus regime, and I'll put that in the description, a link in the description. The Spartacus regime, it was a fairly good one. I used to do that quite a lot. It's a 10 station, 1 minute, so you've got 10 different stations, and you do 1 minute intervals whereby you do as many reps as you can for 1 minute at each of those 10 stations, and you have a short break in between each station. I think it's 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. So to do one whole set of 10 takes you about 15 minutes. To do 2 takes you 30 minutes, and if you do 3 then it takes you 45. In fact, I think I've only done 3 a couple of times in my life. Usually I've just done 2, and that's good enough. And that's high intensity, that gets a sweat up. You can do it at home. You don't need, well, you need a couple of weights, but you don't really need weights. You could probably do it with anything that's just weighs something for some of the exercises that have a weight involved in it. That's a good one. I think boxing, running up hills is always going to be good training for being hill fit, and something that's going to really get your heart rate up and not require a lot of time to do it. So you could do a 1500 metre really hard run up and down through some hilly terrain and sand dunes, maybe 2 kilometres at most. If you're short for time, just do it hard and fast. And in fact, there's actually research out there. I'll put this link in as well, because Dave from Hunting Arrête made this comment to me a week or so ago about an article talking about the difference between high intensity interval training and high intensity repetition training, I think, or high interval repetition training. The difference between HIIT and HURT. And it was saying that, you know, HURT can be as effective, and if not more effective, than your conventional, if you want to call it, HIIT training. And HURT required even less time of doing an exercise. It just required lots of repetition for a particular movement, for, I think it said, even up to just 12 minutes in a session. And I thought, wow, only 12 minutes in a session. Here I am training for 45 minutes to an hour, and that's not necessarily an effective way to train. So I'll send that link, have a read of it. I think, yeah, just keep it to 30 minutes and try to do a hard workout that you get your heart rate up, and that's going to help.